It is Word Choices Week. That's right. We're going to talk about word choices. Our words are important clues to how we see the world. Words that resonate with our audience, whoever that is, will create more opportunities. This week, we're going to explore word choices, starting with today's antidote right now.
Stay tuned for today's antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I am good. A little tired, but that's the way life is on a Monday morning, right?
Weekends can do that to you. It's amazing how they're supposed to be for rest and recovery, and they usually are not the case.
Yes.
And that's all right.
And for some people, that weekend that we just got through, Mother's Day weekend, started with Cinco de Mayo, Thursday night.
Yes.
I was at a Mexican facility and partook Thursday night of a couple of margaritas, and that kind of moved the weekend, I think.
Extended the weekend, right?
Extended the weekend, yes.
Well, and Saturday was the Kentucky Derby. And I had friends who were huge horse racing fans and huge Cinco de Mayo fans. And the time when the Derby landed on Cinco de Mayo, blowout party, I tell you. It was the best.
So funny.
It's the best.
Funny what we as humans will find to celebrate and how we, you aggregate all those things.
Well, do you know what Cinco de Mayo was all about?
Nope.
Neither did I until I heard it on. There's this channel on TV that I usually set for the dogs, which is usually like Sounds of the Season. So when I come downstairs, I put it on and the dogs are on the couch. And they gave that I guess some small band of Mexican army defeated like the French in some battle.
Oh, this sounds really good. This is great discussion for us like 5 days late.
Well, some people might still be celebrating. Or
I was out with someone Thursday night, and I said, he was asking about Cinco de Mayo, and I'm like, what is Cinco de Mayo's date? He's like, I have no idea.
Who said that to you? Somebody asked you that?
No, I asked someone.
Oh.
And they didn't know what the date was.
They clearly don't speak Spanish or understand Spanish.
Not even un poquito.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you. All right.
All right, everyone. Well, welcome. Good morning. We hope that you had a great Cinco de Mayo, Kentucky Derby Day, and most importantly, Mother's Day over the weekend. This is today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. Every morning, every weekday morning, Bob and I have a conversation around a topic, usually the topic of the week. And this week, our topic is word choices, as Bob mentioned. And we'll dive into today why it matters in just a minute. So as we share that, we hope that if you have thoughts or ideas around it, you will share what you're thinking in the comments, especially if you are watching us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or
LinkedIn Live.
LinkedIn Live. Please feel free to share your thoughts.
I like the way you say that. LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, mine's a little more reserved, just a little. And then at the end of our show, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. And if you have one, please feel free to share that as well. So before we start that conversation, though, we always dive in with our celebrations to get us in the right mode to have a great conversation. We're going to share what we're celebrating. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate something I should have celebrated Friday and totally forgot, which is my mother. And all the other mothers out there in the world. They do hard work. As someone who's taught lots of people, I've seen the effects of a great mothering. I've seen the effects of not so great mothering. And every single mother out there did the best they could. I don't think for any second there was a mother who was like, let me just do an average job. My kid will figure it out. And I think that was something I learned late in life. And I think mothers play such an important role in how we develop. And I'm really blessed now. My mother and I have a really great relationship. I spent Mother's Day with her. We had dinner together at her retirement community. It was really, nice, and not mom disciplining her son. There's an occasional Bob, but
You
not
probably
nearly
need
as many
that,
of those as there used to be.
You probably
And
do need
probably
that.
deservedly so.
I would imagine. Usually that's the case
Yeah.
for all of us. Not just
Okay,
you.
fair enough. How about you? What are you
Well, I have to
celebrating?
go the same route. I mean, because we were not broadcasting on Sundays. I'm going to celebrate Mother's Day and all the mothers that are out there, especially my wife, who does and did an amazing job helping to raise our children. And so I feel blessed and honored to be a part of that, as well as my own mother. So
Tommy's mother, right?
Tommy's mother, who you've met virtually.
Yes, we met virtually.
Briefly.
Lovely.
Yes, indeed. I get to go see them in another week or two, which I'm excited about.
And you have that big basketball game.
Big. I'm not sure it's a big basketball game.
You paid your $25, man. You got the alumni basketball game where Tom, no doubt, will come back to us on Monday, and we will ask him 2 questions. How sore are you? And did at any point you trip and fall?
You love that, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I still have a lot of lacrosse to do. And so I was thinking I might just, when I normally in high school, I played inside a lot. I might
Inside being mixing it up under the backboard.
Correct.
And,
in the paint.
It gets a little physical.
Yes. I may hang out.
You're going to be more of a
three-point line.
shooting guard?
I think so. We'll see. I always say that, and before I know it, I'll be in there doing something stupid. So
That's when I lost my calling with basketball. When it started to get physical, I was a scrawny kid, and believe it or not, my father-in-law put an elbow into me at a Thanksgiving family game, and I lost my breath.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And I'm like, foul. And they're like, no, this is a family
game. There is no such thing as a foul.
It was very, very physical. And I was probably 16, done, out.
Fair.
They'd
honestly,
be like, hey, Bob, do you want to play? I'm like, I got a wrist thing going on. Oh, my elbows sore. No, my neck. I woke up wrong on my neck. I had an excuse every year.
I wish you had shared that before we tried to help you dunk a basketball. Then we might not have gone down that path, although that was a very worthwhile episode. It's funny, you were the type of player that I love to play against. Because I'm not that tall. I'm 6 foot, maybe times 6.5. And there were a lot of guys who were tall and thin and tried to get away with just being tall and thin. And when you can leverage your body correctly inside, you can negate that fairly easily.
Yes.
So those were the teams I like to play.
All right. Well, we'll hear more about Tom's alumni basketball game in 2 weeks. I cannot wait.
Yes, it'll be interesting to say the least.
I'm marking my calendar because I'm not going to forget that.
So we really should share all Mother's Day, right?
Yeah.
For our renegades, that's our thing for celebration for them.
My understanding, Tom, is that every single one of us has a mother.
I believe you're correct. Can't be 100% sure of that. Well, yes, you are correct. I don't think we have
thought that through for so long.
Well, I was trying to,
There's someone going, he must have gotten his head hit by the basketball a couple extra times.
No, yeah, whatever.
I made a simple statement. You had to really analyze it.
I wanted to think about that for a second. It's Monday morning. I wasn't quite firing on all the synapses that I could have.
Got the Saturday brain going.
Or Monday.
All right. So we got this great topic, Tom.
Yes.
We're going to dig into word choices, which I'm really excited about because I'm a guy who believes in the power of words. I have used words professionally. I've used them. I've seen the power of words in terms of how they can inspire people and excite people and cause people to have an emotional response. And I've also used words that have hurt people, not intentionally, not always. Sometimes it's probably intentional, but I've seen how words hurt people and how, if we're not careful with them, they can do damage to us externally and internally. So I'm really excited about this topic because I think you come at this with a very aggressive perspective, which I like. So do you want to kick us off today in this whole word choice, why it matters discussion?
Yeah, I thought you just did a good job of kicking us off. So I'll try to add to that. No, I think that's the case, is that, I think that there are people who intentionally think very deeply about their words, the words that they choose to use. And I think there are others who don't. It's whatever comes to them or wherever they're at, they share, which is fine. Again, it's based on what's real for you. And, as you mentioned, I have intentionally, especially the last 2 years, thought hard about the words that I choose to use. And I think, we had a great conversation last week about judging ourselves. Is that correct? Or was that 2 weeks ago?
No, it was
It was
last
last week. And I think that oftentimes when we start judging and stop learning is so often based on the words that we choose to use. And if you didn't catch that, I would encourage you to go back and listen to last week, or at least last Friday, where we did our discoveries of the week. And I think word choices can turn a learning situation into a judgment situation, which can then change, how we're able to move forward or stay stuck. And I think that it's something that I don't think we give enough thought to. And that's what allows us to end up in being frustrated, stuck, overwhelmed, challenging situations that we're unsure of what to do with, or lost in our successes. And I think that's, it's like the word judgment. To me, some people might say, well, that's just exploring, what happened and better understanding. And I sort of think that to me, judgment is more than that. Judgment is placing a decision based on information, whether you have all the information or not. The goal would be that you have all the information. Typically, we don't have all the information, or we don't have all the results that are in to make the judgments that we do. And so I think that the fact that, if you use those words, two of my favorite words, right and wrong, or not favorite words.
I was going to say, whoa, this took a weird turn.
Yeah, are a lot of ways making judgments on what we do or what others do. And I think that's why I've come to really value a word like real. That's what is real for someone else or real for ourselves. And I think that we don't often think about that. We share words without really, they become just so easy to roll off our tongue that we just say them. And until you ever stop and think about, okay, well, what did I just really say? Is when you start to understand a little bit more about how you either made yourself or someone else feel.
Yes. And I was going to say that how we make ourselves feel with the words we choose. I've been trying to pay closer attention to the words that I use in my head. So by example, I'll give you an example from something not businessy, but something that's more outside of business. And that is, I run a couple times a week. For years, running was not easy for me. It wasn't the most fun. I came to appreciate it over time. But if there was a hard day, if it was really hot, if I didn't feel good or whatever, I would tell myself, the talk to myself was, you're getting too old for this. That would be the self-talk as I was trying to get my third or fourth mile in. And I was running with someone one day and I said that out loud. And they said, I'm sorry, what? I said, I'm getting too old for this. It's like, you are if you're going to say that. But what if you turned around and said, I am really young and strong? Yeah, whatever. And so I didn't really, this person made me do it out loud with them, and my heart wasn't in it. But a couple days later, I was running and I used that. And I said that a number of times, and I got through my usual route in like 45 seconds less. And I know it was the power of that self-talk. I know it was me trying to achieve, and I know you do it and I do it when we're coaching people. There's often a lot of really negative self-talk going on. This
Sure.
isn't going to work. No one's going to buy this thing that I've created. My team's not going to listen to me. I'm going to get fired if I don't figure this out. All these things that I think when we talk about word choices, there's also that internal monologue or dialogue that we're having all day. And I think for me, that's really an area of word choice that I'm pretty good with my words. I make some mistakes and I can cross lines every now and then. I'll admit that. But I'm not very good with the words I use in my head. For me, I'm very judgmental. I'm very critical. I'm very negative. And every now and then, one of those expressions will come out when I'm, out loud, I'll say it. And I can see people like, oh, where'd that come from? And I think that's an area that, we don't think about the word choice that we have going on in our head. Do you get up today and go, oh God, it's Monday. It's going to be another horrible week. Did you get up and say, I'm lucky enough to be able to do what I'm doing today? How many people wish they had my opportunity? How many people do you know, Tom, that would love to be able to do what we're doing right now? I can think of thousands of people who have said to me, oh, I've always wanted to do that. I would love to do. They're the ones getting up going, oh, I could never do that.
Sure. Well, I think the other thing about it is it was interesting to hear you talk about the words you share with others. And I think this is all of us, because we have our own perspective on what we're sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget often that that others that hear what we say don't have the same perspective. And so there's a pretty good chance that the way you say it and what you mean by it is not necessarily going to be received the same by the person who is receiving it, because they have a different perspective. I think it's why so often emails and texts get misconstrued as to what is the intent, because all we're doing is reading the words and then we're putting our own perspective into how it was said, with how much force, what was the real meaning behind it. And I think that's one of the challenges, is that none of us share the same perspective. And so we can't always be certain. The more you get to know someone, the more you know, okay, I understand how someone said that and what they were really trying to convey. But with people who we don't know very well, or people we've never met, they don't necessarily know. They are taking it as they perceive it based on their knowledge, experience, and perspective. And we can never know that, right? We never know the way everyone is considering what we're having to say. And so I thought it was interesting for you to share that, well, I think I'm pretty good at the words that I use with others. And I would agree. And at the same time, I would offer, there are probably people out there who might not agree with that statement. And I think it's
I think anyone who knows me could give you an example of me not being as careful with my words as I could be, and it takes work. One of the things, you're on a stage a lot. I'm on a stage a lot. When you're on a stage, it's exhausting because every single word you say has to be really thought out. And people are like, oh, it must be so great to get up there and talk. It's like a half hour on a stage, having to come up with the words that convey what you're trying to convey and not cause you challenges is hard.
It's also a judgment, isn't it? And I think that's where we get to.
So, folks, here we are, first day of the week, and we've already had the judgment card pulled out by the referee. We will be doing this each day probably for another 8-10 years. So if you'd like to see how many times I get carded, the yellow card, the next card's the red card, right?
Correct. That was a green card. Green card, kind of warning.
Okay. I can't believe it's just now that I realized that I could use that.
Yes. Well, it's, I think it's interesting. And I think that's where we get stuck, is we get so concerned about the words we use and how others are going to be impacted by them. And don't get me wrong, I think there is real value in that. I think the value is, to me, and this might be my one thing, is that
he's throwing cards and doing this one thing. Tom Brush in control today.
it's a renegade morning.
It
is that I think if we are careful about the words we choose based on our own perspective, all we're doing then is sharing what's real. And we can't control how others are going to view that. They will react one way or another, or a million different ways. And if we are so worried about how every one of them is going to react, we will never find the words that will be correct for the entire audience, even for one person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's why it matters to me, is because it matters to me and the words that I choose. Like, as we've shared, or I've shared many times, there are words that I am trying really hard not to use.
We'll get to them.
We'll get to them. Because I think that they have, to me, I have thought more about what does that convey to others. And I believe that's not the message that I want to convey. Whether or not they want to hear that, whether or not they care, whether or not it has a huge impact on them or a very little impact on them, it matters to me. And I think it helps me more clearly share what is real for me. Does that make any sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. We can't really know how someone's going to filter our words.
Nope.
Their experience. There's the word fight to me is a very powerful word. And if someone says to me, that's going to cause me to fight you, I get that's like one of those words. And it's a completely innocuous word, but I've assigned a whole bunch of meaning to it. And the person who says, hey, I'll fight you for that, has no idea what's behind that for me, any more than I know that hot button word. And I think now more than ever, we seem to be sensitive to words.
Yes.
And assigning them a lot of meaning that I don't think the speaker always intends. And there have been times when I've said something and the person's been offended by it, and I've explained to them, that wasn't my intent. And it's just a simple communications gap.
That'll never be correct. It can never fix.
Or the time I said it. There's so many factors in communication. When I was a communications major in college, we had this chart thing where it was like sender, recipient, and there was an arrow. And then there were all the distractive things going on, the body language, the facial language, the external noise that you hear as someone saying it to you, the situation that you're in. And it became this simple, and I remember the one example, the teacher's like, okay, let's talk about the word hello. Everyone's like, oh, that's easy. It means, good morning or greeting, whatever. Okay. No, what if I said hello? Hello? Mind blown. Oh boy, this is really bad. And the teacher told us that every single word goes through that entire process. And, you and I are older. We've assigned meanings to words now from experience, where it's like, if someone says that word, okay, I know what they mean by that word. I've learned where that word can take me. And I think it's hard. That's why, to me, I love communication. It fascinates me, because finding the best words to convey what you mean, especially if you're writing a press release, ad copy, a song, a play, you've got to find some universal words that when people see that word, it's got to mean generally to everyone something very similar, or else you're not conveying your meaning. Am I making sense?
Yes. And I would offer that it's really difficult to do. And I think that's one of the challenges with why people look at communication so difficultly is, I'm not sure that's a word.
What was the word?
Difficultly.
Yeah, I think that one's not going to pass the word choice test today.
Yeah, that's a made up word. Sorry, folks. Why it's so challenging is that we can't ever imagine how anybody is going to receive the words that we choose, or that they assign the same meaning to it that we do.
I think we imagine all the time, Tom. I would disagree. I think we imagine people see the word the same way we see it.
Correct.
We don't
That
imagine
is
anything
correct.
other than, hey, I use the word fight. You see, I use the word fight. You know exactly what I mean by that word. And here we are. That's where the challenge comes in, right? Because we've got to admit to ourselves that I don't know what that word means to that other person. I don't know the denotation. I don't know the connotation. I just know that word.
Well, and that I think is, if we can get to that point where we say, I'm using it the way that I'm just using it. And am I worried about how they're going to react? A little. I have some concern, and I know I can't control it. That's where I'm getting to. Is the challenge is we're so worried that we are going to control everyone's understanding of what we are saying, so that everyone out there is in complete understanding, complete agreement, and that we've been able to impact everyone exactly the way we wanted to. That belief, I think, is the challenge, because now we spend hours and hours and hours on trying to come up with the correct words, rather than just sharing what's real for us, and knowing that there are people out there who are going to react in a multitude of ways. And I think that's why public speaking is so difficult. Why people find it so challenging is that they feel like they have to have the message for everyone, rather than sharing their message and understanding that not everybody's going to receive it or receive it in the same way, and that's okay.
My mind is blown.
Really?
Yeah. I'm just playing through it. I've taught presentation to hundreds of students. And I don't think I ever once said to them, hey, if you have an audience of 20 people, you might reach 5 or 10. You're never going to reach probably 20 of 20. Just isn't possible, because someone's thinking about, oh, when's this buffoon going to stop talking so I can get lunch? And someone else is going to be thinking about, their third grade teacher because they had glasses just like mine. And I never, as I've gotten older, I've started to give myself that grace and be like, you know what? I'm not going to reach everyone here.
Well, and the challenge is that you don't know what's going to be the thing that stops them from paying attention or starts them paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you use a word. I actually didn't know that fight was a word that was a challenge for you. And so had I at some point said it and you had reacted, I'd be like, well, that's interesting. Why is he reacting to that? And now that I know, I might exclude it. And I think it's why we exclude a lot of words, because there have some that have a more universal meaning. And so I think that the challenge is being able to just share what's real for us. To me, that's being the renegade. Is, yes, do I want to reach people? Yes. Can I reach everyone? No. Can I share what is real for me in an effort to try to have some impact on them? Yes. And so I think often we spend so much time. I mean, I remember writing solicitation letters to donors and spending hours on trying to get the quote unquote right wording. And I think what I've come to realize is there is no right wording. It's just what is real for us,
right?
And that we are trying to share. And that if we got into the point of, and this is where sometimes it gets us not in trouble, but sometimes there are challenges with it, is we share what's real for us, not knowing what's real for someone else. And I think, unfortunately, today we've gotten to the point where when someone shares what's real for them, we take it as an attack on us, without considering that, okay, I don't have their knowledge, experience, and perspective. I'm not sure why they're sharing it that way. We just make a judgment and react. And then the person who shared it reacts and judges the reaction the other person had. And I think,
and it erodes that trust in that communication.
It erodes the understanding, maybe.
Right. I think it also can
is
erode the trust.
The judgment erodes the trust.
Okay.
If you are someone who's able to say, again, where I'm trying to get to, they're just sharing what's real for them. And, it's interesting as I think about that as it relates to lacrosse. Coaches and parents are sharing what's real for them. And for me to say it's crazy is okay. And at the same time, that's a judgment.
Right.
And the more I can be like, okay. Now, again, there are lines you can cross. And there are actions that can be taken, especially in that situation, because there are guidelines that have been established. Then I think that those are the facts, right? You say these things. The fact is, the rules are, this is the result that's going to happen.
Right.
And so in that case, there is the opportunity to make a judgment. I think there's a lot of other gray areas where if we stop judging and just started to be like, okay, they're sharing what's real. That's fine. I'm going to move on. They haven't crossed the line. And I'm going to try to understand and learn why their knowledge, experience, and perspective brings them to that point. Wow. I hadn't thought about that.
I think we covered a lot of ground, and I think Tom just gave us 2, not 1, today's antidotes, if not 3. So I'm going to stop there.
Sorry.
I can't even match them.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for being with us on this interesting conversation about word choices. If you have some words that you'd like to share with us about this conversation. I see what you did there. Thanks. And you'd like to share them, or you have your one thing, your today's antidote, please feel free to put it in the comments, because we know it will not only help us, it will also help others as they try to find their own unique pathway to success. And if you've been listening to the podcast and are like, I can't comment anywhere, what am I supposed to do? Just go to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, because we'll be talking about word choices all week inside of there, and you can add to the conversation. And I can be pretty assured that it's going to add value to someone in that space. So come in and join us, share your thoughts and ideas around word choices, and help others move forward. So we look forward to seeing you inside that Ring of Renegades Facebook group. If not, we will see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you, and it's not too late to thank that mother in your life one more time for all the great things she did for you, or that mother that raised your children and all the great things she did for your children.
And heaven forbid you forgot, there is still time. You can go back. Do your best.
2 pounds of chocolate is the penalty, I believe.
Yeah, maybe for the next week. All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.